Hey everybody, you join me today for what is going to be the fourth and final part of the ST Swap series. Now, if you watched part 3, you'll know that for today's video I want to do something a bit different. I didn't want to focus on the swap itself necessarily, but give you guys kind of an overview, review, full walk around of the car because I know you have a lot of questions about it. So obviously the car in question is Mustard, the ST4 as it is known. ST4 denotes an ST-powered sedan. But as you can see, obviously this one has a bit more than just the ST power plant in it. There's more ST to this sedan than just the engine. So you guys send in a lot of questions, which I appreciate. I love the feedback. I love the engagement you guys show. But a lot are common questions, repeat questions, so I wanted to address some of them today. Hopefully answer questions for those of you who haven't yet asked them. But anyway, I figured a good way to wrap up this whole series would be to do a walk around of the car as it sits, kind of discuss everything start to finish, front to back, and so that is what I'm going to do. So with that, I suppose I might as well start at the beginning. The car itself is a 2012 SE sedan. I bought it brand new in September of 2011, coincidentally on my birthday as it happened. Made for a very good but a very expensive birthday. But yes, it is a 2012 SE. Options-wise, I had it, or it came with, I was going to, actually, side note, I had the exact spec in my mind. I knew exactly the car I wanted, and when I went in to order it, as it happened, the identical car was sitting on our lot at the dealer I worked at the time. The only difference was the wheels. It came with 16 inches, I wanted 17s, but I knew they'd only ever be winter wheels anyway, so aside from that, it was exactly how I wanted it, and so I bought it. Now, the options, first one, probably the most important one, would be the Sport Package. Now, the Sport Package on 2012 SEs included rear disc brakes instead of drums. It had revised suspension throughout. It came with a leather steering wheel and shift knob. It came with these unique seats, which I will get back to later. They were actually a good choice given that this car ended up becoming an ST sedan. It came with gloss black or piano black in Ford speak trim on the front bumper, which of course is gone. And it came with a rear spoiler, which is also gone. Now, most of the parts that made the Sport Package have been replaced on this car, but it was still worth ordering because Sport Package allowed the optioning of yellow blaze metallic. Now, a lot of people don't know this. This is not actually the ST Tangerine Scream. This is its own color. It was only offered on Focuses for the 2012 model year. It was on hatches and sedans, but only on titaniums or SEs if they had the Sport Package. Standard SEs could not have yellow blaze. So I was set on this color. I wanted it, so that necessitated the Sport Package, which gave it other upgrades anyway. But you know, like I said, most have been replaced. I'm sure eventually all the Sport Package parts will be replaced, but it lets me have a yellow sedan. So yes, it had Sport Package. It then also had Winter Package, which came with heated seats, frankly a necessity here in Canada. And it came with heated mirrors, which include the turn signals. So I personally prefer the look of the mirrors with the turn signals. I think they're just a little nicer. But the big thing was the heated components, because it's Canada, it gets cold. In fact, it's not even too nice today on the day I'm filming this, but hey, it's December, it is what it is. So yeah, Sport Package, Winter Package, and then, of course, probably crucially, manual transmission, but that's been replaced too. Anyway, I was set on a manual. I was not buying an automatic car. That's nothing to do with the old DCT issues or anything. I just was set on 3 pedals. So yeah, bought it September 2011. That's a little over 6 years ago now, for those of you doing the math. I've had this thing a while. 3 days in, I tinted the fog lights yellow, and then it snowballed into this. So I said it would stay stock. I said it would be the daily driver, and it did fill that role for a handful of years, at least the daily driver part, but staying stock, yeah, didn't work out so well. Now, anyway, let's get on to the modifications and how this thing currently sits, and I'll start with what is easily the most asked about part on the entire car, and that is the Esti Bumper. Now, this was actually the first sedan known to have an Esti Bumper installed. It was done a few years ago. And to answer the very common question, yes, it bolts on. This fits straight on a sedan, no work needed. You just need, of course, the bumper, the grills, the mounting brackets, so forth. So the hatch and sedan conveniently are very similar in terms of structure. The shells are largely the same up until, of course, the back end, the back quarter or third of them. But what that means is a lot of ST parts, inside, outside, will just fall into place on a sedan. So the bumper is OEM. I bought it brand new because at the time that was the only way to get one. You couldn't exactly find written off STs anywhere. So that was a brand new OEM piece. Same with the side skirts. Those were brand new from a dealership. Those are, again, factory ST parts. The only difference is up in the front there is a clip that is unique to the ST skirts. I'll put the part number up on the screen here. You can install them without. It's not technically required, but to do it better, I'll say, to make them more secure, you should get the proper clip. Because if you take the skirts off, you'll notice that the mounting points are a bit different for the front clip for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it means the standard clips that are used on the rest of the skirts will not fit. So front sides, those are OEM. There's no tricks or anything special there. The rear, however, that is a different story. So, of course, there is no such thing as an ST sedan. These don't exist. So you can't just go to Ford and pick one up. So the rear valance is the appropriately named ST Sedan valance from Rebel Devil Customs. So what they did is they took an actual hatch valance, an OEM valance, and they cut it, extended it, modified the tabs and so forth to fit a sedan bumper. And from there, they pulled a mold and made new pieces. So that's what this is. This is actually the second ever RDC valance. The first one went to Jose's car, Tabasco. He has since sold it, but we were the originals with these. So if you want this, go to Rebel Devil Customs, and then it'll fit right on. The grills and reflectors are OEM pieces. The grills have had their tabs cut out, and they are just mounted in place instead of being clipped in. So that's one slight difference between the RDC piece and how an OEM piece would go together, but the OEM accessories do fit, all works fine. And then finally, at least as far as the main changes are concerned, there is this. Now, I had said earlier that the Sport package came with a wing. Normal SEs didn't have it. This is not the original wing anymore. This is, or what was, the 3D carbon wing. It's now, I believe, Air Design. I think the company has been bought out. But this is their pedestal wing, it's called. Again, you can go to Rebel Devil Customs to pick this up. It follows the factory lines closely. A lot of people mistake it for factory, but it sits about twice as high as the factory piece. So it just helps to visually balance out the car, given that it now has much lower valance down below in the skirts and so forth. And then moving on, lighting-wise, the car has been modified as well. We have the twin LED bar taillights out back. Those are from eBay. Yes, eBay. That's the only place you can get taillights for these cars. And then if we come back around front, we have the factory black housing headlights. So this car originally had all chrome units, and one of the early changes I made was to switch up to these, the black housings. Again, just bolt on, plug and play, nothing special there, but I think it just ties the front end together much better with all the other black accents the car had. Now carrying on from there are a few more aftermarket additions around the exterior. Up front there are the 1552 cup spoilers as well as the Mount Toon lower sport spoiler. Basically all three of these pieces just fit over the factory Esti Bumper and follow the same lines, but just make the bottom a bit more pronounced and bring it out, which I personally like. But what the cup spoilers also do is if you take a look down low at the side profile, from factory the ST bumper is actually cut a little bit higher than the side skirts. So with the addition of the cup spoilers, they level it out, and frankly that's how they should have been from factory if you ask me. It just finishes it off. Before it looked like something was missing, the way the bumper was cut higher. These just give it a finished look, make it nice and even all the way around, which is what I like. And then elsewhere on the exterior, there's just been a few small little touches, like the washer nozzles have been color-coded, as have the roof rails up top. It just helps clean up the exterior a little bit, I think. And, I mean, might as well note it too. Stubby antenna, that was another very early change, which I actually bought from Mario, from one of his old cars. Last item I'll point out would be the SE badges. Perhaps a little bit of shameless self-promotion here, but a lot of people ask where these come from. We sell these. So if you head on over to our online store, you can pick these up for your own car. They, of course, much like this car itself, blend SE and ST styling together. And most don't get it, but if you understand kind of the inside joke that it's an SE badge looks like an ST on an SE/ST, there you go. So now for the suspension, the car sits on ST coilovers all the way around. But when I say ST, I don't mean ST as in Focus ST, I mean ST as in KW. So ST suspension coilovers all the way around. Up front there are, way behind in there, massive front sway bar end links. There's also the updated OEM front strut bar. There was both a thinner and a thicker unit Ford offered. This car, being an earlier one, came with the thinner, slightly weaker unit, so I switched it out for the thicker, more reinforced piece. And then coming around the back, of course, ST coilovers again, and inside the trunk is a Kyle DeYoung strut bar. So Kyle DeYoung, owner of ST4 number 4, has made some strut bars for sedan owners, and this has one of them. Elsewhere, I guess we should just discuss wheels, obviously. Now, given that it's winter, the car is currently on its winter wheels. These are more just for storing it right now since it's not a daily driver in winter, but they are 18 by 9.5 inch tarmacs all the way around. The tires, therefore, are winter tires. They are Dunlop Winter Sports 235 wide, and Muteki lug nuts if you're interested. In the summer, when you'll see the car at all the shows and so forth, it is on similar but not identical wheels. It's on 18 by 9 1552 Turbo Max, so slightly narrower, but they still run the same size tires, 235s. Those instead are Continental DWS tires, a personal favorite of mine. As for why I run these, it originally started off as just because I could, and because I was never a fan of the original wheels the car came with, the little 16s, but these days I do this because I actually can't even fit the 16s anymore. With the VMAX big brake kit up front, I have to run at least 17-inch wheels, and so obviously 16 is smaller than 17. My factory wheels will not fit up front anymore, so maybe it's a problem I made for myself, but I'm okay with it. I'm happy having the car on white 18s year-round. Gives it kind of a uniform look no matter what the season is. And these days, I don't even have a choice. But anyway, yes, it also has the VMAX big brake kit up front, 330mm rotors, larger calipers in red, more aggressive pads, stainless steel lines. It's a complete package up here. The brakes in the rear are still stock for now. They're still the original Sport Package rear discs. These are scheduled to be replaced, I'm going to say this season. I do have plans to switch them out, but for now they still are standard. They've held up fine. I haven't really had a need to change them out yet, but just to carry on with the build, they're going to go. Alright, we're going to carry on now. You might notice the slight change in scenery. I'm filming this a little later in the afternoon, and the gentleman had to lock up for the evening, so that lot's now closed, so I just scooted on over. But we will, anyway, pick up where we left off. Might as well move on now to the interior. Now, as you may have seen in some of the other clips, obviously there's something going on here. I will address that, but let's start up front anyway. So, interior, like the exterior, is very much a mix of SE and ST components. First thing you'll notice when you open the door is the ST kick plates from Ketchup. In fact, all the ST parts you will see in here are from Ketchup, of course. So if we come in, what I look at, I have ST gauges. I used to have, of course, the standard NA gauges, but with custom faces, custom overlays. These are just the standard as they come ST gauges now from Ketchup. Down in the footwell, which is a bit dirty, given that it's winter, you'll see the factory ST pedal set, as well as a Boosted Designs dead pedal, which happens to have the ST logo in it. And then moving further in, there's underneath the console, you can't see it, there is the ST shifter assembly, since it's now a 6-speed manual. So the car, like I said earlier, was a factory 5-speed, but that had to go to make way for the ST components. So that's now the 6-speed with the reverse lockout, on top of which sits a SS tuning shift knob, carbon fiber, tangerine scream trim ring, black leather. The shift boot and e-brake boots are both Alcantara, both with silver stitching, and the armrest cover is Napa leather with silver stitching. These three coming from a couple of different sources. The shift boot and the armrest cover are from Redline Goods, while the e-brake boot is from a company called JPM Coachworks. All three are very nicely made pieces, and I did those to match the silver stitching on the seats. Now, I should probably move on to the seats. I had said that given this became an ST sedan, having it equipped with these seats was a pretty, I'll say, lucky call. Now, the reason I say that is because in other markets around the world, not in Canada, but in other markets, you can get STs with these seats. The only difference is they'd have ST embroidered right in there. But the ST1 seats, as they're called, and these sports seats are the same otherwise. They're identical otherwise. So even though the plan on day one was not to make this an ST sedan, it kind of worked out. So now I'm going to say these will be replaced at some point. They are going to go eventually, but for now, these do fit with the whole ST theme. They're very supportive, very comfy, and I have been very happy with them. Now, elsewhere you'll notice some little touches. There's the ST4 emblem overlay on the steering wheel. There's the yellow blaze painted door trim, and of course, GOB access port. I'll get back to that. Now, I'll move on to the back because I'm sure you'll have questions about this. Now, winter is when traditionally we take the time to do bigger projects on our cars, given that there's no shows, there's no meets. They don't have to be complete every single day like they do in the summer. We don't have to go to meets every other day or shows every weekend, so this is when we tackle bigger projects, and on my list this year is the interior. So, the rear seat's missing, obviously. No, there's no missing that. I will let you in on that one a little later on, but you can see, anyway, the door cards are also being updated. So, that there is the factory OEM Arctic White door panel insert. As you may know, some cars came with, or could have, either the Arctic White or Tuscany Red interior packs, they were called. I managed to find most of the inserts recently, so I picked them up, started to throw them in the car, and I've only got the rear done for now. Obviously, the front still is factory, but it's coming along. I mean, I'm sure you can tell why I'm going with the white pieces, but I think it'll spruce up the interior nicely, and they're somewhat uncommon. I don't know if I'd call them rare necessarily, but they are uncommon, so I kind of like having them. I mean, otherwise the interior is largely standard still. I just realized I forgot to mention that the outer dashboard air vents are actually also from Ketchup. Those were done a few years ago now, just after Mario bought the car in the first place, in fact, because on this trim level they were all black originally. They did not have this chrome on the outside. So, as it happened, I wanted the fancier chrome trimmed ones. Mario wanted the all black ones to black out his interior, and so when we found out that we each wanted what the other had, we just switched them. So that's more or less the interior now. We've covered the exterior, covered the interior, covered the wheels, covered the brakes, covered suspension, so I'd say it's time to get to the point that I know most, if not all of you, are waiting for me to get to, and that would be the engine. What makes this ST4 an ST4? Alright then, last but not least, the ST Heart. So hopefully you guys have gone and watched the other three parts of this series already, which shows some of the whole process of getting this installed, but I will go over just a little bit of that now as a recap. So, obviously the engine itself is out of Mario's old Focus ST Ketchup. It was unfortunately written off early in 2016 when another driver happened to run through a red light, and Mario was unfortunately in his way when he did so. So ketchup was totaled. We tried to save it, we couldn't. It was too badly mangled. So we went ahead with plan B, which was to ST swap mustard. Bought it back from insurance, stripped it down, and then over the next few months sourced all the necessary replacement parts and parts to get this all to work, and carried out the swap. So the engine itself is internally stock. It still has the stock turbo as well, but it is stage 3. It has all the, I guess you could say, exterior bolt-ons. Now, you may know, or you may pick up on the slight discrepancy there, because in the other videos it showed a stock intercooler, which meant it could not be stage 3. Since the original swap, that has been replaced. So back in behind there now is a mount tune intercooler. The video on that is coming, don't worry. But that was the missing piece of the puzzle. Everything else for stage 3 was in place. And so once that went in, I could get the stage 3 tune and finally get this back to where Mario had it. So might as well follow the Air's path here. It starts off with a FS Works intake, which is actually a carryover from my original engine. Heads on into a Cobb intake arm, of course down to stock turbo like I said, through stock intercooler piping. That's still factory, that's not a restriction yet. Into mount tune intercooler, more stock intercooler piping of course, and then on the exhaust side it heads through a Cobb downpipe, a catted downpipe, into an agency power exhaust and just shoots straight out. So it's currently running an off-the-shelf stage 3 map from Cobb. This year it will be getting a custom tune from a new company, which I'm looking forward to. Overall, it's certainly a good amount of power for a street car. I mean, keep in mind this is just a street toy and show car. We do not have a track here anymore, so I can't really open it up anywhere. Someday, whenever we do, I look forward to that. And so on top of the performance parts, there are a few more pieces under here as well, ranging from super small touches like the painted hood release handle, got rid of the yellow there, to the hood struts, to a Boomba blow-off valve. There's a Cobb short shift plate down in there, JBR solid shifter bushings and so forth, whole bunch of little touches. Some parts are carryovers from when Mario had the engine, some are new to the engine now that it's in the car. But overall, it's at a point where I'm happy with it. I'm sure the next step will be to go big turbo eventually. Someday I do want to build the engine, get more power out of this, but for now, stage 3 is more than enough, considering this car, when I first bought it, had a 160 horsepower naturally aspirated engine. A stage 3 SD engine is actually a pretty big improvement. I've certainly been very happy with it now. From when we completed the swap to now, it's been about 11 or 12,000 kilometers of driving. Nothing has gone wrong, nothing's failed. It has performed flawlessly. And I've had just an absolute ball with it. So I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Unfortunately, I cannot share the exact how-to of how to get an ST engine to work in a sedan. Obviously, you need the engine, transmission, shifter cables, so forth, but you can't just bolt these into a sedan and turn the key and have it work. There is more to it than that. I'm sorry I can't share it with you, but that's how it is. If you'd like to do this to your own car, own sedan, or own hatch, please send a message off to Rebel Devil Customs. They can help you out with that. I've certainly been very happy with it. I certainly consider it worth it. And I guess as a way of closing, that's probably a good segue to one final question that I get from people, and that is, what about the cost? Now, I will not list specifics, but one thing people wonder is, how does this compare to just buying an ST? Obviously, that is the easier way to do it. You can just buy it from a dealership, you know, have a warranty, have all that if you care about it, and go on your way. But what about actually building one? Is it cheaper? Is it more expensive? What's the answer? Well, this car, as it sits, has cost more than an ST. There's no denying that. With the coilovers, the brakes, the wheels, engine mods, body mods, all that, this has cost more than an ST. But, and this is a big but, if we built it as a stock ST, had we not done coils, not done big brakes, not done new wheels, etc., it would have cost less. Now, that will be different for different markets around the world. Here in Canada, all of our STs are effectively ST3s. they're all basically fully loaded, and so prices reflect that. So to buy this car brand new and then carry out the ST swap, it would have been cheaper to get an ST this way. Now, other markets like the United States, for example, I know you can get STs brand new for, I believe, low $20,000 range. That is certainly not the case here in Canada. So that will vary based on where you are, but for us anyway in Canada, the cheaper way to get an ST is actually to build one. So yes and no is the answer to that. Yes, this car has cost more than an ST, but had I not modified it and just done it as a stock ST, it would have cost less. So keep that in mind. Either way, I don't really consider this comparable to just buying an ST because I wanted a sedan. I preferred the sedan body style, and of course that was not a choice from Ford. So we came up with the idea of building an ST sedan. After quite a few years of work now, we have one, and I love it. I would not sell this car for anything. This is a forever car now. And given the choice of this versus an actual ST, even an actual RS, I would pick this every day, hands down. And so anyway, I hope this video has answered your questions. I tried to address a lot of the common and frequent questions I get. Hopefully, if you have asked them, we're going to ask them. This was helpful to you. If you're just here checking this out because you're curious, I hope you enjoyed it. But it is time for me to wrap this one up. I'm sure it's been long enough now. And frankly, I am getting cold out here now. Like I said at the start, it's Canada, it's December now. It may look nice out here, but it's not. The temperature does not come through on camera, and it's time for me to go home. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, things I didn't get to in this video, please leave them down below. I will get back to you guys as soon as I can. But until next time, have a good one.